Welcome back to Ironhead Forge, where the steel's hot and the sarcasm's hotter. Remember that absolute stunner? The Coffin-Handle Bowie with its Mosaic Damascus that looked like a love letter from a volcano? Yeah, go binge that video real quick, then hustle back here. Behold this glorious chunk of pure potential. I'm slowly schlepping this massive billet from forge to press and back again, because apparently I think I'm a pack mule with a PhD in stubborn. By the end, I squeezed out enough Damascus to birth that Bowie fighter and this bad boy. A Mosaic Damascus dagger with, yep, another coffin handle. Because nothing says, I love you, like a stabby reminder of mortality. If you want to watch me beat the ever-loving snot out of the first half of this billet, go re-watch the Bowie fighter video. Heck, I'll even toss the link in the description so you don't blister your delicate scrolling finger or wear out that poor mouse button. Now we're kicking off with the square bar of Mosaic. This episode covers everything up to the handle. No filler, just the good stuff. I crammed a whole week of sweat, swearing, and spark showers into a bite-sized chunk short enough to scratch your forging itch without sending you to the chiropractor. You're welcome. All right, time to slice and dice this bad boy like it's auditioning for a sushi chef gig. We're chopping the square bar into 3/4-inch chunks at a snappy 42-degree angle. Think of it as giving the steel a stylish haircut that actually serves a purpose. You can play around between 35 and 45 degrees and still come out swinging. But back when I was slumming it at 35, my forge welds were flaking out more often than a bad blind date. And let me tell you, after dumping a solid week into hammering that monster billet down to this bar, a weld failure hits like a betrayal from your own hammer. It'll have you eyeing the nearest sharp object for a dramatic exit, samurai style. Except the blade doesn't exist yet because, well, epic fail. So I cranked that angle up to 42, and bam, 0 flops since. Why the magic number? Turns out, the steeper 42-degree cut crafts a beefier scarf joint, pumping up the surface area where the pieces fuse. That extra real estate means better bonding, fewer air pockets or crud sneaking in, and welds that stick like they owe you rent, unlike the skimpy contact at 35 degrees, which just begs for drama. As I'm lopping off each piece, I'm slapping numbers on them and lining them up in the exact order they tumbled out, so the pattern on the ends lines up like a well-rehearsed conga line. Then, after a quick wipe down with 90-proof alcohol, because nothing says clean weld like boozing up your billet without the hangover, we flip them in sequence. This little twist shifts that killer end pattern over to the sides, setting the stage for some seriously hypnotic mosaic action. So here's the tile sandwich. All our little mosaic chunks snugly packed between 2 sheets of 14-gauge steel, tacked together with welds that, before the MIG Mafia starts howling, were done on low power, leaving the mill scale intact. Pretty? Number. Functional? Absolutely. We're not chasing structural welds that could hold up a bridge. We just need surface kisses strong enough to keep the stack from doing the cha-cha, while the tiles heat up and decide to become best friends forever. And no, I'm not sealing every millimeter like some paranoid bunker builder. Instead, I give the whole bundle a nice kerosene bath right before it hits the forge. That kerosene sneaks into every nook, cranny, and microscopic gap, then vaporizes on contact with heat, flushing out oxygen like a bouncer tossing rowdy drunks. Result? 0 air pockets, 0 oxidation, and a forge weld that sticks like gossip in a small town. Shove it in the forge and whoosh, meet dragon's breath. A roaring plume of fire blasting out the door like the furnace just exhaled after a 3-day bender. That's the kerosene flashing off. And yeah, it's supposed to look like Satan's barbecue. Calm down, it's just chemistry doing a fireworks show. With the steel tile sandwich glowing like it just swiped right on the sun, and after a few lazy spins in the forge to make sure every inch is equally toasty, we introduce it to the Coal Ironworks 25-ton press with flat dies. First contact? Just a polite little smooch, barely enough to leave a lipstick mark, before it's back to the forge for another sauna session. I repeat this flirtatious tap dance way more times than you're seeing here, each press a hair more committed than the last, but never jumping straight to third base. Why the slow burn romance instead of slamming it like a car door in a hurry? Simple. Those mosaic tiles are a stack of picky divas that haven't fully committed to the relationship yet. Rush the pressure and you'll squish cold spots, trap flux, or, worst case, turn your pattern into abstract soup. Gradual squeezes let the heat penetrate every layer, coax the welds into forming without drama, and keep the pattern crisp instead of smearing it like cheap mascara. Patience now means the dagger looks like art later, not a crime scene. Once I'm convinced the tile mating ritual has officially upgraded from awkward first date to we're basically married, I graduate the happy couple to the big leagues, my 35-ton press. That's when I stop whispering sweet nothings and finally let them have it. Full send, no safe word. After one last long soak in the forge, then a final, no apologies slam in the press. I'm confident the tiles are now bonded tighter than a cheap suit in a rainstorm. Out to the gravel it goes to cool their marital bliss and solidify as one unified slab of "till death do us part." Next up, hack off the handle section like it talked trash about my mom, then dive into cleanup. Time to strip away the ugly and let this dagger start showing off. Now we're in the grinding room, where the billet meets its first real personality test. I fire up the big grinder with a heavy grit wheel and go full berserker. Sparks explode like a metal 4th of July, and here's where the ugly surface welds and no edge pressing pay off. That wheel chews through the mild steel and tacked welds like they're made of stale crackers, long before it even kisses the Damascus we actually care about. No deep penetration welds means no risk of carving into the good stuff. No edge pressure means the pattern stays intact instead of getting pancaked into oblivion. 2 hours of grinding, acid dips, more grinding, and a few muttered prayers later, every trace of 14 gauge and weld spatter is gone. The billet emerges clean, naked, and ready to be forged into something that'll make grown men whisper sweet nothings to a dagger. All right, Ironheads, listen up. True forging time, but the rules just changed. Into the forge she goes, but I'm not running it nuclear hot like before. Why? We're done with forge welding. Those tiles are already hitched for life. Now we're just persuading steel to slide into its final form, not fusing it. Lower heat keeps the grain happy, prevents cracking, and stops the pattern from turning into a melted crayon drawing. First mission, Make this slab even on every side. Soft presses only, like giving the billet a gentle back rub, so we don't file for divorce on the tile marriage. Mosaic's picky. Rush it, and you'll split seams faster than a cheap prom dress. Heat and patience, that's the cheat code. Once it's square and behaving, we open the throttle, but not redline. Still gotta babysit the speed. Why? Even welded tight, mosaic layers can delaminate if you hammer like you're mad at your ex. Too fast, too hard, and you'll get cracks that sneak up later like a tax audit. Slow and steady keeps the pattern crisp and the blade alive. Now, even though mosaic screams uniform perfection, I'm a sucker for that old school hammered tip. Gives it soul. So I rough forged the dagger outline, tip and tang included, but I'm not touching bevels with the hammer. Why? Hammering bevels on mosaic is like trying to thread a needle in a hurricane. One slip and you shear layers, wreck the pattern, or create thin spots that'll fold like origami under stress. Bevels come later on the grinder, precise, controlled, and zero drama. Hammers for shape, grinders for surgery. Take a good look, Ironheads. Forge dialed down, and the billet sides stay slick instead of flaking like a bad sunburn. Lower heat means less scale, which is just oxidized steel crying for attention. Less scale equals less cleanup, less material loss, and, here's the science bit, smaller grain size. Steel's like a teenager. Crank the heat too high for too long, and the grains blow up like egos at a bodybuilding contest. Big grains equals brittle steel that snaps when you sneeze on it. Keep the temp moderate and the grains stay tight, fine, and tough. Like a good whiskey, not a cheap shot. You'll also catch me ping-ponging between hand hammer on the anvil, power hammer, and press. Why? Because I'm not a one-trick pony, and neither should you be. Mostly, though, I'm coaching this mosaic into shape, not bullying it. Slam any single machine too hard, especially on curves, transitions, or thin sections, and the tiles stage a full-on rebellion. Welds tear, layers peel, and suddenly your masterpiece looks like abstract roadkill. So I mix it up. Hand hammer for feel and precision, power hammer for grunt work, press for even squeeze. It's like raising a kid, firm but fair, with a variety of tools so they don't grow up entitled or cracked. Ironheads, hope you're loving this deluxe director's cut forging marathon. You know I keep it spicy on this channel. No two videos the same, because boredom is the real enemy. In case you're wondering what it actually sounds like in here, trust me, your ears just sent me a thank you note. It's a symphony of clanging hammers, the anvil's high-pitched ting that rattles your teeth, and enough metallic screeching to make a banshee plug its ears. Consider this the merciful mute button. Your hearing stays intact. I don't have to subtitle the chaos. Ironheads were in the home stretch of forging, so it's time for the spa treatment before the blade earns its edge. First, I heat the steel up nice and even, then let it cool almost to room temperature, and do it again. Yep, this is thermocycling, and here's why I bother. Every time you heat and cool the steel, you're giving the grain structure a reset button. It breaks up any oversized crystals that snuck in during forging, refines the whole microstructure, and makes the steel tougher and more uniform. Think of it like kneading dough. Multiple cycles equals smoother, stronger, and less likely to tear when you finally roll it out. After the last cycle, while it's still hot, I clamp the blade flat onto an old forklift fork, because nothing says precision straightening like industrial redneck engineering. This locks it dead straight as it cools, preventing warps or twists from thermal tantrums. Finally, to the oven it goes. Crank it to 1,525 degrees Fahrenheit. Let it soak, then shut the heat off and walk away. Overnight, it cools super slow inside the oven, like a steel hibernation. This is normalizing on steroids. It relieves internal stresses from all the hammering and pressing, evens out the grain one last time, and preps the steel to take a killer heat treat later without cracking or warping. Stress-free steel equals happy blade. You're welcome. Next up, especially on a dagger where one wonky side turns your stabby work of art into a fidget spinner, I square up the billet like it's prepping for a beauty pageant. Out comes the surfacer attachment on my Bel Air. That's AmeriBrade for the uninitiated. 2x72 grinder, shaving it flat, and even so it doesn't look like it survived a bar fight with a cheese grater. Then, because I'm all about abusing tools like they're my personal interns, I crank up the laser engraver for layout lines. Daggers are symmetry snobs, mess up the balance, and it's less elegant assassin and more drunken geometry. Hand marking with my hammer-swinging paws? That's a recipe for crooked chaos, like letting a toddler draw the Mona Lisa. But the laser? It etches those center lines with surgical precision. No coffee breath or shaky hands required. Suddenly my blade's got lines straighter than a politician's denial. I can focus on not turning it into modern abstract sculpture. With those laser-etched lines sharper than my ex's comeback game, it's time to amputate the extras. Hello, porta-bandsaw, your friendly neighborhood belt saver, cutting beats, grinding off pounds of steel, and torching through $20 belts like they're tissues. Quicker, cleaner, and my wallet doesn't file for divorce. While I'm at it, I snap off chunks whenever possible and play grain detective. Hold up the broken end to the camera. See that? Grain so fine it looks like powdered sugar, not rock salt. That's the thermocycling and overnight normalizing flexing. Proof the steel's microstructure is tighter than a hipster's jeans. Confidence level. Chef's kiss. Now, fine-tuning the profile with a 24 grit shredder belt from Combat Abrasives. No, nobody's paying me. I just like yelling about gear that actually works. This belt eats steel like it's late for a hot date, and the buffet's closing. Grind right up to those laser lines, kissing the edge but never crossing it. That final whisper of steel is for a belt with manners, not this 24 grit barbarian. You might have spotted the chunk of wood I used to shove the blade through the grinder. Why wood instead of my delicate artisan fingers? Simple. Comfort. When you're married to the grinder for hours, a little ergonomic mercy keeps your hands from staging a mutiny. Plus, wood doesn't mind the heat, doesn't slip, and won't accidentally file for workers' comp. Once the profile's shaped even all the way around, like a supermodel who actually eats carbs, it's time for shoulder work. No, not mine, though they're screaming. The shoulder's where the guard's gonna perch. I've tried file guides and they're cute. But the mill? That's my ride or die. Drop the bit, cut one side, raise it a hair, slice the other, and boom. Both shoulders are square to the blade and to each other. On a dagger where symmetry is non-negotiable, this is like autopilot for perfection. After the shoulders are in, I run that same bit up the tang for a little extra, ooh, look at that alignment. Bonus, the round milling bit leaves a sweet little radius in the corners instead of a sharp 90-degree stress riser. Why care? Sharp inside corners are where cracks throw parties. Heat treat one and it'll split faster than a bad joke at a funeral. Radiused corners spread the stress, keep the steel happy, and let the guard nestle in like it was born there. Now we stare at the ricasso like it's a blank canvas. I'm Picasso with commitment issues. Square and snoozy? I'll give it a little flair. I grab a marker and doodle directly on the steel. Because who has time for templates when chaos is free? Once I've turned the ricasso into a toddler's art project, back to the mill. Same deal as the shoulders. Drop the bit, carve one side, nudge it up, mirror the other. Symmetry on a dagger isn't optional. It's the difference between deadly elegant and drunk geometry. Then, grinder time with the small wheel attachment. I follow my scribbles and sculpt that ricasso flare, smoothing out the mill marks and turning marker madness into actual shape. No safety net, no do-overs, just me, the wheel, and a silent prayer the pattern doesn't end up looking like a Rorschach test gone wrong. Now that the ricasso's flirting with perfection, we toss the whole blade on the surface grinder and take it from 24 grit war zone to a silky 220 grit finish. Time for the first pattern peep show. At 220 grit, you won't get that holy cow etched pop yet. And here's why. The smoother the surface going into the acid, the cleaner and sharper the contrast when it comes out. Rough scratches scatter light like a disco ball, muddying the pattern. A mirror flat 220 lets the etch bite evenly. So high layers shine bright and low. Layers sink dark, like turning the volume knob from mumble to scream. Save the real fireworks for 400 plus and final polish. Dip, rinse, reveal. All right, Ironheads, pattern check. What do you think so far? Drop your verdict in the comments before I ruin it in the next 5 minutes. Now that you've had your peep show, hope you tip the pattern well, it's time for the star of this blade profile, the distal taper. Quick prep. I mark the center line down the edge first, so my grinder doesn't wander off like a drunk tourist. For the uninitiated ironheads, distal taper is that sexy slim down where the blade thins out gradually from the ricasso base all the way to the tip, like a carrot that actually works out. On a long blade like this dagger, it's essential. Keeps the weight balanced so it doesn't swing like a drunken elephant, makes the tip nimble for precise pokes, and lightens the overall heft without sacrificing strength. No taper? You've got a clunky doorstop that tires your arm faster than a bad gym membership. We all know how the surface grinder attachment works by now. You don't need another 5 minutes of me pushing it back and forth like a bored janitor. So let's skip the snooze fest and jump straight to grinding bevels. But hold up. This ain't some wayfish tea party dagger. I'm building this beast thick, damn near 3/8 inch at the ricasso. Because why not? Life's too short for skinny steel. When it's done, we're talking a diamond-shaped blade that screams, "Look at me," bold and unapologetic. Push it into something? Oh, it'll get noticed, like a fireworks show in a library. Impossible to ignore, with edges that demand respect. Bevel time, Ironheads. Grab the 24 grit shredder and let's get surgical. Dagger bevels aren't your average kitchen knife slalom. You're grinding 2 opposing center lines, one on each side, that have to meet dead center at the edge, all while keeping the blade perfectly symmetrical and the diamond cross-section fat in the middle, thin at the tip. One slip and you've got a wonky edge that looks like it lost a fight with a lawnmower. The distal taper we just laid in? That means the plunge line moves with the thickness. Grind too deep near the ricasso, and you'll blow out your shoulders. Too shallow at the tip, and the point's a butter knife. It's like threading a needle while riding a mechanical bull. We're not chasing the scribed lines yet. That's for a belt with better manners. This 24 grit beast is just hogging steel, cutting the bevels down to within a whisper of final. Close, but no cigar. Once we're there, we'll quench this bad boy and lock in the geometry before the fine belts come out to play. No room for sloppy, symmetry, or bust. This is the moment every Ironhead lives for, the quench. You've seen it on Forged in Fire. Blade plunges into oil, whoosh, fireball, dramatic music, host yells, "It's alive!" Yeah, slow your roll, Hollywood. In real life, no fireball. If your oil ignites like a dragon sneezed, you pulled the blade way too early. That means it's still hot enough to vaporize oil on contact. Translation: not fully cooled, not fully transformed, and not fully hard. Pulling early equals softer martensite, uneven hardness, maybe even perlite sneaking in. Your edge might roll before it cuts, and the whole heat treat is half-baked. Congrats, you just made a $500 butter knife. I keep the dagger submerged until the oil's barely hissing. Just a lazy wisp of smoke when I finally lift it. That's the sign. Steel's down below 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Transformation's locked. Hardness is maxed. Pull it then, and a file just skates across like it's Teflon coated. Ting, ting, ting. Music to my ears. Perfect quench. No drama, no fire show. Just science, patience, and a blade hard enough to make a file cry. Okay, I skipped the footage of the dagger being tempered, because watching steel temper is about as thrilling as paint drying in slow motion. But here's the deal. Right after the quench, I slide the dagger into the oven for tempering. Tempering is controlled reheating, usually 375 to 450 degrees Fahrenheit for a blade like this, held for a couple hours, then slow cooled. Quenching left the steel glass hard but brittle. One solid whack and it'd shatter like a dropped plate. Tempering softens that brittleness just enough, converting some martensite into tougher structures while keeping most of the hardness. Think of it as taking the edge off a raging bull. You still get the power, but now it won't gore you the second you turn your back. Result? A blade that's hard enough to hold an edge, but tough enough to survive real use. No micro cracks, no spontaneous suicide when it kisses bone or board. Skip tempering and your mosaic masterpiece becomes a shiny grenade with a handle. As I finish the dagger with finer grit belts, you'll catch me dunking it in a water bucket like it's allergic to heat. Why? Because grinding friction equals heat, and heat above 400 degrees Fahrenheit can sneak past your temper and turn that hard tip into a soft noodle. Every knife maker worth their salt will warn you. The tip is the troublemaker. Here's the science. Thin steel at the point has way less mass to soak up heat. The ricasso, thick, beefy, laughs at a warm belt. The tip, skinny, pointy, and heats up faster than a gossip in a hair salon. Add a fine belt spinning at 2,000 RPM, and that localized hotspot can climb past tempering temps in seconds, drawing the hardness right out, leaving you with a tip that folds on first contact. Dunk often, keep it cool, save the temper. One lazy pass and your dagger's now a letter opener with commitment issues. All right, Ironheads. This is the money shot you've been sweating for. I pushed it to 400 grit so the pattern quits playing hide and seek. Later we'll chase 1,000, maybe even 1,500 grit for that mirror pop. But right now, feast your eyes. Pattern and design check. What do you think of this Mosaic dagger so far? Drop your unfiltered verdict in the comments, tell your buddies, do all the YouTube magic, like, subscribe, share, ring the bell. Whatever keeps the algorithm gods happy. So part 2 of this dagger or the next motorcycle build that'll make your jaw drop. Ironhead Forge out.